Match one of the Barcelona-Atlético Madrid trilogy is in the books, and it's a good thing for Barcelona. Real Madrid lost earlier in the day to Mallorca, so this one was for not all the marbles, but enough marbles to put Barcelona up 7 points in the Liga. There's plenty of action to talk about, with, of course, all eyes on Wednesday in the Champions League. Welcome to episode 801 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm in Hilton, and a big thank you, as always, to everybody that joined me on the watch along on BigUp that played that prediction game with me. Of course, we'll be back midweek for that one against Atlético Madrid. Then, of course, there's Espanyol. Then, of course, there's Atlético Madrid again. So, yeah, a lot of watching me watch Atlético Madrid, but it's still plenty of fun. Thank you to not only them, but everyone that helps me out on the podcast apps, on Patreon, or get something, of course, on the merch store. All right, you've wasted enough time listening to me ramble. Here it is, the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 2-1 win over Atlético Madrid. Headline 1, chances and controversy. Now, with these two starting lineups, you could tell that Simeone already knows the Liga is gone, so he really does, after the international break, go all out. Yes, there were players missing. Marcus Llorente also suspended, but he goes with really not even a second choice 11 here against Barcelona, but I think he was hoping he'd get a bit of a home crowd boost there. And for Barcelona, a little bit of rotation based on guys coming back from injuries. But this is, I think, generally what we're going to see on Wednesday, other than that big surprise, which was Rashford and Olmo starting together, one playing the false 9 and one on the left wing, but more on that later. Let's start with the action in this game in the second minute. Barcelona with the first look. Rashford held up inside, plays Cancelo on the overlap, and Lamine Yamal wins the corner. In the 7th minute, Pedri is pulled back. There's no yellow there. And then Rashford's free kick made Musso think about it, but it was handled. 11th minute, Griezmann. This is the best chance, at least the first best chance in the game for either team. It's a stone-cold miss from the first Barca man. I mentioned before that, yeah, he's had some goals against Barcelona, but historically, he does not score against the Catalans. That was before he played for Barcelona and then after as well. But this is still a highlight for him as he got both Cubarsí and Araujo to miss, but it's right at Joan Garcia. 14th minute, Lamine Yamal. You're probably going to see this one circulating on social media. It's a gorgeous Trivela after nutmegging Nico Gonzalez to Fermin. Unfortunately for Fermin, his shot goes just wide as he was put off by the defender. Fermin, I will say in that first half, was being asked to do a lot of work in the box, and he was struggling with the physicality. Olmo was dropping in a bit deeper, and then Fermin was trying to play into the half spaces where usually it was Lenglet, the center back, coming over. So yes, for Fermin Lopez being asked to do different things, what I was happy about, this is kind of like a roses and thorns, roses definitely to Fermin for his movement and his partnership with Lamine Yamal is something that you have to start match in and match out, and then ask Olmo to do something else, either as a false 9, as that inverted left winger, or even deeper in the midfield. But Fermin is going to be starting every big match, I'd say, next to Lamine Yamal. Their partnership looked awesome. And then, of course, the thorns, as I said, to putting Fermin in situations physically that weren't really too comfortable with him. But I'm not too worried about that because I think Lewandowski will start those other big matches of the season up top as the number 9 to make sure he takes more of the pressure off the guys playing midfield underneath him. 23rd minute, Nico Gonzalez catches the ball with his hand, and in the watch-along, we were pretty confused. I thought that was a clear red. Maybe it had been in the past. Somebody can correct me, but we got the official rule, and credit to Tam in there for it. The yellow card is a caution. It's usually shown for stopping a promising attack. It's a cynical handball or a deliberate handball. The red card dismissal is given if a player denies an obvious goal-scoring opportunity through a deliberate handball. So that is not what happened here. This was a promising attack, and it was a cynical handball. That was definitely true. So it's an automatic yellow, but it's not a red by the letter of the law. That actually makes sense. So thank you for the correction there. 28th minute, it's Griezmann with another huge miss. Too easy. Barcelona's backline giving it up. Nico finds Baena in the half space, and it should have been a tap-in for Griezmann, but he misses it wide. And yeah, box defending for Barcelona, you know that is not what they do best. They didn't do it well either, but Atlético Madrid didn't hurt them for it. And after that moment, Atleti still continued to have not necessarily possession, but more the momentum at home, as was expected. The one difference was with that different 11 for Atleti that did not look comfortable with each other at all. They just didn't have transitional opportunities. Without Marcus Llorente, with the width, without Lookman, with his breakaway speed, without Julian Alvarez, again, confusing and doing those numerical overloads. It just wasn't that transitional threat that Atleti usually does have at their disposals. And I think you also got the sense, and I did this whole match, that both teams were already looking ahead to Wednesday, but you still got to play this one. 35th minute, Lamine Yamal off the post, the triangle, beautiful. Olmo, Fermin, Lamine Yamal, really pretty stuff from Barcelona. And Lamine Yamal trying to chip the keeper, just got too much on it. and that was Barcelona's opportunity to get the first goal. It doesn't happen, and both teams wind up missing some big chances in the first half. Headline 2, Atleti pull ahead. We talked about the momentum, and in the 39th minute, Atletico Madrid make good on that momentum. They get a bit transitional here. We just talked about how they weren't really transitional, but this one is a lot less transitional and more just popping in over the top and breaking that high line in a way that we saw going all the way back to the first match of the season against Rayo Vallecano. You've got one forward that is offside. That was Griezmann. And then the other forward runs off the shoulder of a center back, and you hope that either Cubarsí or Gerard Martin is called ball watching, and they do. It's Giuliani Simeone scoring it. And credit to another former Barcelona man in Langley. He was given too much time, lofts it over. We know that, he's not the best of the ball at his feet, but he certainly is no slouch. I thought he was always above average, and he showed it here on this ball. Griezmann, as I said, offside, and Gerard Martin and Cubarsí have the retention on him. So Simeone plays off the back shoulder, finds his way in behind, and finishes. Not much that Juan Garcia could do here. Headline 3, Flick chose both. We talked about that starting lineup. Let's talk about it again. We really did think when I saw that starting 11 that it was going to be Rashford at the 9. And Diego and I had both agreed that we were having this whole conversation about Ferran Torres or Lewandowski. And Hansi Flick said, hey, this is why you're not the manager of Barcelona. And I am, because in training, it was Olmo even on the left wing where people got some video and shots of it. But no, instead it was almost a false 9, Rashford on the left wing, and Hansi Flick decides to choose both of them for this match. In the 40th minute, Araujo, who seemed to be favoring a bit of a hamstring. Remember, he also was a top 4 minute getter over the international break for all the Barcelona players. He goes off for Marc Bernal. And not to say because Araujo came off, but Barcelona were able to take back momentum there and get a goal back too. In the 42nd minute, it's Rashford up the left side. Pretty transitional for Barcelona here too. He plays the wall pass for Olmo, who I actually thought, for all the things that he was being asked to do as a false 9 against Atletico Madrid, on paper, that just sounds completely insane for Hansi Flick to go with, but actually it worked really well. Usually Olmo does struggle when he doesn't get enough touches as a false 9 or in the middle there, but I actually thought in those small spaces, the game suited him, and even more so when, of course, Atletico Madrid goes down to 10, and he has even more space in small spaces, if that makes any sense, to work with. So the wall pass from Olmo to Rashford, and now he's in behind that bypass Vargas, and Rashford, there to run onto it, finds a way through the wickets of Musso, and it's 1-1. 45th minute, as we near halftime, Olmo and Simeone, they tangle up, get into it. Molina, Fermin, Koke all get yellows, likely for being too hot-blooded, likely for saying something. And hey, this is the 4th time that these two teams have met. So yes, the bad blood was already boiling. Headline 4 is a red and an orange. Nico Gonzalez, we haven't really talked enough about him yet because Lamine Yamal, well, we knew he was going to take him to the watershed. And before I even talk about the red card, I kind of have to question Diego Simeone here. Ruggieri was coming back from the international break. Sure, Pavil was injured. Hansko also coming back from the international break. But why, oh why, did Diego Simeone think it was a good idea to start Nico Gonzalez? Unless it was just to lull Lamine Yamal potentially into a situation where he doesn't expect that he's going to have to push so hard. But Lamine Yamal, what a day from him. And that was expected against Nico Gonzalez. And Nico Gonzalez getting his red card, taking down Lamine Yamal in stoppage time in the first half. He got a yellow card. And it was right outside the box, and they had to check for a bunch of things. They had to check for offside, and it was not offside. It was onside because the man on the far side was keeping Lamine Yamal onside, and they also took that time to change it to a straight red. This is a straight red. Obviously came across. I don't think there was any question that this was going to be a straight red when VAR looked at it. Yeah, he just came right through the man, and Nico Gonzalez, you're gone. On the ensuing free kick, Bernal was free at the back post, but just couldn't get his leg enough around it to get it on frame. But Barcelona, obviously now with 10 men, had a full 45 minutes to work through it. Within a minute of that ensuing free kick, though, Gerard Martin gave Kool-Aid the scare, got a straight red for stepping on Thiago Almada, and it was ugly, but he got the ball first and contact was incidental. That was clear from the initial replay. I thought it was going to be either a heavy yellow or a soft red. And I know there is no such thing as an orange, but that's what I would call this. That was a definition of an orange that, of course, Madridistas, because they're down 7 in the table, are going to be flooding all of your social media saying that it was high on the ankle, so it had to be a red. And again, if that was the argument, I would have got that argument. But VAR taking a look, red is withdrawn. It is just a yellow because, again, he gets the contact on the ball first, and it's completely incidental on that contact as he was coming clearly through the ball, and Almada was just happened to be on the other side of the ball after his kick was almost fully completed. So again, I understood both, but I think VAR did get this right as a harsh yellow. And when I say harsh yellow, I mean something that could have been worse, but it doesn't. That's just a heavy yellow. 53rd minute, it's an easier call for the ref. It's an easy yellow on Lenglet for bowling down Lamine Yamal. And I will say, too, At that point, well, Atletico Madrid, they didn't give up their counter press. They didn't give up their pressure. They were still trying to push Barcelona and pin them back. But again, Bernal coming in for Araujo, that made Barcelona even more press resistant. So between Pedri and Bernal, just too press resistant for a 10-man Atleti. And it should be mentioned, too, that Atleti, they don't really lose too much anything defensively. They're still pretty good at getting into that Christmas tree shape and battening down the hatches and defending like heck. That's the Atleti under Diego Simeone that we know so well. But their problem when they go down to 10 men is not only did they kind of not have much of a counter transitional threat that we talked about because it was Griezmann and Thiago Almada starting up top with Baena underneath them, but once you lost an extra man, that lack of a forward and an unwillingness to want to risk Lookman and Alvarez today for Diego Simeone meant that there was no counter-attacking option up top whatsoever for Atletico Madrid. And it did kind of feel like either it was going to end 1-1 or it was a matter of time before Barcelona broke through. Yeah, they could absorb some pressure, but yeah, you were going to have to absorb that pressure for the rest of that game. 60th minute, Lamine Yamal with a dribble that it was bananas. This is a bananas dribble. Could have been, if he scored this goal, would have been potentially an argument for goal of the season. Yeah, Lamine Yamal, very good. I don't even tell you that. Bernal goes down, though. This is bad news. We don't know what his status is when I'm recording this. Koundé comes on, and Eric goes back to the middle. But yeah, Bernal going down, that's worrisome because I really, really want to see him. Regardless of Frankie de Jong or Gavi, I think Bernal needs to be starting next to Pedri if Barcelona want to get this Champions League tie off on the right foot on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Sorloth comes on for Griezmann. In the 66th minute, from a corner, Ferran Torres forces a tough save from Musso after Koundé thought he was brought down in the box. The cross comes in for Cancelo. Also a reminder, at halftime, Ferran Torres had come on for Fermin, Ruggieri on for Koke at that same time. But again, a little bit too late because Ethan Gonzalez had already taken that red. 70th minute, another really good save on Ferran Torres. I know people are going to get on Ferran Torres, but there's a difference between misses and saves. These were saves from Musso, not misses from Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres has enough misses. I'll tell you when they're misses. These were saves. So at least for this match, leave Ferran Torres alone. 78th minute, it's Lewandowski and Gavi on for Eric and Rashford. Rashford, I thought he had a good day when he had the ball, but what I didn't love today from Rashford was the body language. He really wasn't counter-pressing. He wasn't working defensively. And you did feel like in those little moments in between, what you were missing from Rafinha. If you're Rashford, yeah, great. When you're on the ball, he can continue to be that sharp. But without the ball, off the ball, Rashford, he's got to be better. I'm just kind of throwing a warning out there that he was good. I thought he had a good day. But Rashford cannot be giving up, cannot be have bad body language where he's throwing his arms up, things like that. That cannot happen on Wednesday in the Champions League if he gets that start. He's got to have better work right here, especially on the defensive side of the ball. 82nd minute, Koundé tried to square Lewandowski, but doesn't work out. Not only was it stopped, but it was offside too. And now we head into the final chapter, but Lewandowski sniffing a goal. Then headline 5 is one hand on the trophy. Yep, I said Lewandowski, and I say it for a reason. In the 88th minute, the Polish striker, yes, he had a disappointing international break. Poland will not be at the World Cup, but Lewandowski might be able to put his tears in that Liga trophy because Lewandowski gets on the board. It's Cancelo against a back five, sliced and diced Almada. Yeah, not only was he tired, that big Almada, he's also not a defender. The shot/cross, I think it was probably a shot. Musso was able to save it. He had a good day, did Musso. But Lewandowski is in the best place to get a redirection off his shoulder/upper chest. Pure instinct to thrust it on goal, a goal scorer's goal, and Lewandowski might have sealed the Liga trophy for Barcelona. It's also vindication, I think, for this on the Cancelo deal. For people who've been with me, you know I do try to admit when I'm wrong. And I was wrong about the Cancelo deal. I really did think that it was just Barcelona needed to bring somebody in, that there was not much on the market, and they were doing a favor to Jorge Mendes to maybe get $2 million off a potential Lamine Yamal renewal down the road. That obviously is going to probably destroy their wage bill in the future, but you deal with that when you get there. So I thought this was just a favor for the agent, but no, this has been vindication for the Cancelo deal. And yeah, if you had to ask me that Cancelo, would he be starting against Balde come the Wednesday of a Champions League quarterfinal? I would say no, but now the answer is yes. It's got to be Cancelo at left back against Atlético Madrid on Wednesday. Definitely. This is vindication for everybody involved in that deal. And yeah, I was completely wrong. And not much to talk about in stoppage time. I think everybody just kind of wanted that game to end and look forward towards Wednesday. But I just want to bring the context back to the Liga for just a minute. I don't think we learned too much. Again, it's also the fourth time these two teams have played. So with Lookman not around, with Alvarez not there, and Hunchko also not playing, obviously, Atletico Madrid are going to look very much a different side come Wednesday, where Barcelona are likely going to be starting a lot of the same familiar faces. That said, Barcelona, I think, have all the weapons and the tools to especially at home, ramp up the pressure even more against Atletico Madrid. I still think Barcelona are the slight favorites going into that tie. But again, keeping an eye on the Liga here, I want to shout out Mallorca, because if Barcelona win the Liga trophy, you have to look back to the Mallorca loss that Real Madrid suffered today. And we're going to mention the names Leo Ramon, which is the goalkeeper from Mallorca, that held Mbappe out a number of times. And then even when Eder Militao looked like scoring the equalizer in the 88th minute, Muriqi, of course, also some disappointment for him. Kosovo loses out to Turkey. They get to the World Cup. And so instead, the close-to-bin big man in Muriqi scores the winner a few minutes later, and that might be it. So a bit of redemption coming from Muriqi and Lewandowski with their late goals, doing some big things for their club, and more importantly for Mallorca, or I should say Barcelona, doing something against Real Madrid more than necessarily for Mallorca. But hey, they're not going to be relegated because of that kind of goal. I think that's going to keep them up, and they're going to be in a good shape after that goal from Muriqi. The only thing that kind of stopped this game for me, a best case scenario, is Araujo potentially getting injured, and then Bernal going down too. But if he's good to start on Wednesday, and this is just all precautionary, and he was kind of just worried about a little bit of discomfort, this is just all thumbs up for me. So Barcelona 2-1, the first of the trilogy in the books. Again, please join me on Wednesday for that watch along on Big Up. And of course, I will see you there. And then back here for the 5 headlines. Again, of course, this is the big part of the season that we all enjoy so much. And I'm glad that you're on this journey with me. And as always, where's the Barça?